Okay, students, if you are watching this, it's because you want to review something we've already talked about, or you were absent a couple of days that we went over this. This mini lesson is on how to write your central claim and your arguments. Now, this is making the assumption that you have already formulated a good, solid research question that is, which the answer to which is controversial and requires research. So, to define a central claim, it is the position that you're going to take on your controversial topic. That is, it's the answer to the research question you asked. So this assumes also that you have done some research on the internet. You've read 2 or 3 articles, so you have an idea of what the possible answers are to your research question, and that you have made a decision as to which claim or which side of the story that you're going to take. So ultimately, how you formulate your central claim will be the core of your thesis statement for your argumentative essay. You don't have to worry about that right now. Okay, let's just look at this. If you already have written a strong research question, then writing your central claim won't be very difficult. I'm going to give you one very easy way to do that. We'll use the acronym RA. R stands for restate and A for answer. So restate and answer your question. For example, if your research question was, will raising the minimum wage to $15 an hour hurt the economy? Let's say after you did some reading, you decided, yeah, it will. You can write, raising the minimum wage will hurt the economy. That can be, you're restating the question right here, raising the minimum wage to $15 an hour, and here you are answering it. It's like saying, yes, it will. Okay, I'm going to give you another example. Okay, now that was kind of a simplistic way of restating and answering the question. The second one's a little better. We should not raise the minimum wage to $15 an hour because it will hurt the very people it was meant to help. Okay, so maybe in your research you find out, wow, even though it sounds like a good idea, there's some unexpected consequences or repercussions that end up hurting people who live on a minimum wage salary. Now, this last one, it's exactly the same as the first one, except for it gets rid of the personal pronoun we. Raising the minimum wage to $15 an hour will hurt the very people it was meant to help. Now that is a pretty solid central claim. And you can see it restates the question, should we raise the minimum wage $15 an hour? And it answers it. It will hurt the very people it was meant to help. So basically that tells us, no, we should not raise the minimum wage. By the way, students, just a reminder, these examples are only examples. They do not in any way reflect my personal opinion on this topic. Now, students, I need to see that you're on the right track. This is all meant to help you. This is based on my experience in teaching students how to write essays. It's much, much easier to spot the problems before you write the essay. So, this is for your own good. Now, I'm going to ask you to hand this in. Some of you have already, but those of you who haven't, I want you to fill out this form. So the first part, what is your problem-based question? Now that was due 2 weeks ago. So I just want to show you how to fill it out. So I've put in here, will raising the minimum wage to $15 an hour hurt the economy? Okay, we already saw that. Then the second one, what is your central claim? And we just did that. It's restating the question plus answering it. Okay, raising, and I'm using the third example, raising the minimum wage to $15 an hour will hurt the very people it was meant to help. Okay, now we're going to go back, because that's your central claim, and next you have to formulate your arguments. Okay, so once you have your central claim, you need to develop your arguments to support it. Okay, so you've made a claim. Now, again, this has to be research-based. You have to have evidence from the articles that you're reading to support your arguments. These can't just be your opinions. Obviously, it can be your opinion, but it needs to be an opinion that is also supported by research. So here, the first argument I wrote is raising the minimum wage to $15 an hour will hurt the American economy, especially affecting the poor, because the number of jobs available for those without a high school diploma or college degree will decrease and leave many people without any employment at all, thus hurting them far more than helping. Okay, so you can see this first argument is based on some reading that I may have done. Now, notice that I haven't yet mentioned any of my evidence from the text. This is still the planning stage. These are just notes. This is just giving the basic outline of what you're going to be talking about. So here, I'm assuming that there was evidence to show that raising the minimum wage to $15 an hour decreases the number of jobs that are out there. Okay? So if I don't find that in an article, I can't say that because we need to back that with evidence from the text. And by the way, the reading that I've done on this topic, the experts differ on their opinion of that, and I think a lot of it has to do with how people play with statistics. Okay, now once you've got your argument, again, back to the form I'm asking you to hand in. Okay, so we've already had your question, your central claim, and now what are your arguments? These are the points to support your central claim. So I've just put that right in there. Raising the minimum wage, $15 an hour. It's exactly what we just saw a minute ago. Okay? So I just plugged that into argument 1, and then I have an argument 2. A rise in minimum wage to $15 an hour would result in an increase in the price of necessary goods. Those in minimum wage positions will end up using their additional income to pay more for expensive goods and services that were affordable when the minimum wage was lowered. Okay, so maybe that's my second argument. And then again, I'd have to have evidence from scholarly articles to prove that. Now, I only have space on this form for 2 arguments, but many of you will have more than 2 arguments. Just put them on the back of the form. Now, finally, we have to talk about counter arguments. So, okay, we just went over argument 1, argument 2, and then counter arguments are basically you need to acknowledge the opposing view. In order to make your argument paper strong, you cannot ignore the opposing view. What you will do, however, is show how the opposing view is either not as strong as your view or it's not valid. So, we call that a counter argument. If this were a debate, we'd call that the refutation. So the counter argument, and you only need one of these, but again, some of you will have more than one. So first you acknowledge the opposing view, and here's an example. those in favor of raising the minimum wage to a living wage of $15 an hour claim that those without a high school diploma need the higher wage to feed their families. Okay, so you have come right out and acknowledge there are good reasons to raise the minimum wage. You acknowledge that and you understand that. But then your counter argument could be something like this. While this argument makes sense to any caring individual, raising the minimum wage to $15 an hour will make it far too easy for high school students to choose to drop out of school, thereby resulting in having no choice but to take a minimum wage job. So basically what you've done here is showed that they need to live off of their wages. But you're showing that there's actually a larger view here, and that is that let's get more people educated enough so they don't have to live on minimum wage jobs. And in the actual paper and your evidence from the text is probably going to include information that shows things like minimum wage jobs are meant for high school students, kids working their way through college, tend to be more of a temporary situation, or a part-time job when maybe a spouse has a good paying full-time job. This particular counter argument will try to show that what we really need to do is encourage people to get a higher level of education. And if we make it too attractive to stay in a minimum wage job, then we'll have fewer and fewer people graduating from high school or going on to college. It'll actually be counterproductive and end up in the long run hurting the people that it was meant to help. So back to the form you're going to be handing in. So you fill that in right here at the bottom. The counter argument. So you notice I put in parentheses the opposing view, and then I put in the counter argument. Okay, that's exactly what we just saw a minute ago. Okay, so students, that's a real simple way of creating your central claim, your arguments, and your counter argument. This is now overdue, so you need to get this in as soon as possible. Make sure I give you feedback on it. Your next step will be creating your outline. So once you get teacher's approval on your central claim and your counter argument, then you'll be moving on to writing your outline.